Assalamualaikum to our lecturer, Farid. Today our group are going to present about our topic, which is study on video game sales. It will present by me, Nur Hafizah binti Zuraimi, and my group members, Muhammad Nur Hakim bin Ismail and Nur Atika binti Abdul. Okay, I will start with introduction. Video games are the electronic games that involve interaction with a user interface to generate visual feedback on 2 or 3-dimensional video displays device such as touchscreen, virtual reality headset or TV set. Video games have become an increasingly important part of the entertainment industry since the 1918. The electronic system used to play video games are called platforms. Several platforms include dedicated devices such as video games consoles, as well as general purpose computers like a laptop, desktop, or handheld computing device. Since 2010, the commercial importance of the video games industry has been increasing. The video games have come a long way since the first emerged in 1970. Video games are gaining popularity among the user, but not only kids are playing the games, adults also play the games. So the sales of video games are increasing year by year because of its popularity. From the dataset, it is recorded the video game sales in 2016. There are many genres of the game such as shooter, racing, sports, and so on. Video game sales are evaluated based on which genre are the highest rate by each of the countries. Besides, in this dataset, there are video games developers and publishers participate in producing video games. Example of video games developers are Nintendo, Rockstar, Naughty EA Sports, and others. They spend their time in programming and developing games. While example of video games publisher are Nintendo, Microsoft Game Studio, Sony Computers, Entertainment, and others. They are the company that publish the games that have been developed by either by the publisher or video games. Okay, from the data, we can find out the best developers and publishers chosen by the countries. We can also differentiate between critic score and user score in the games. We have two aims in this project. Firstly, our project aims is to investigate, analyze, summarize, and generate the charts from the video game sales dataset. We use and collect the dataset from a Kaggle website. Our second project aims is to gain more knowledge about Power BI and its advantage. We can be more understand about the dataset when we create the graph and chart by using Power BI. Okay, since we need to produce the chart from the Power BI, so we can study the reason that affect the sales of the video games in a few countries such as North America, Japan, Europe, rest of the world, and also a global.
Assalamualaikum to Farid. My name is Nur Atika binti Abdul. I want to explain about scope of analysis. There are 3 files in the dataset. The total dataset of the 3 files contain about 16,719 records with 35 columns of attributes of all video game sales carried out in 2016. In the data, the columns of attribute that have been focused include game, year, genre, publisher, North America, Europe, Japan, rest of world, global, name, platform, year of release, NA sales, EU sales, JP sales, other sales, global sales, critic score, critic count, user score, user count, developer, and rating.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nur Hakim Ismail. I will continue with objective of this study. The first objective of the study is to understand the dataset and find the related data for the study. The second objective is to identify the point of discussion for video game sales. And the third objective is to analyze the insight for the video game sales behavior production. For the literature review, a study made by Babs, Terry, and Dana 2013 say that over 40 years video game consoles and the personal computer has grown up as the best platform to play video games. This study said that video game is very important on many peoples who buying games in variety platform. This study is to determine what aspect of video games market has impact on sales. In this study, Babs, Terry, and Dana find that Nintendo Wii was a leader during the research, followed by Nintendo DS, Xbox 360, PlayStation 2, and Sony PSP. From the finding, the research conclude that the best platform on video games market is video game consoles. For the second literature review, according to Aziz, Ismail, and Osman and Mustafa, people from various ages, from kids to adults, play a lot of video games. That makes the spike in the sales of video games nowadays. In this study, Aziz and his friend want to see the factor that make the video game sales become a blockbuster, and they find that the factor sales of video games becoming blockbuster is that genre, years of game release, the price, and the most important is score review. For the third research made by Bob and Terry 2011 said that people at any platform of playing video games are willing to pay any price to games that are interesting to them. In this study, the researcher find clear difference, which is Nintendo Wii and DS are top gaming platforms. Bob and Terry said that Nintendo Wii sells over 10 millions for one annual, makes them the leader among of gaming platform. In this study, Marchand and Henning Thurau 2013 said nowadays the economic value of video games turned to a blockbuster business. People nowadays play game more often than watching movie. According to Marchand and Henning Thurau, video games are becoming phenomena amongst people nowadays, and the new players entering the market make the video games sale increasing nowadays.
For methodology, data collection. The dataset name is Video Game Sales Dataset. This data is from the Kaggle website. The data source URL is stated in the slide. We select and choose this data because we want to know which country has the highest and lowest sale of video games and the reason why sales became that way. This dataset has 3 files, consists of PS4 game sale, video game sales, and Xbox One game sale, and overall files contain 35 attributes. The attributes consist of game, year, genre, publisher, North America, Europe, Japan, rest of world, global, name, platform, year of release, NA sales, EU sales, JP sales, other sales, global sales, critic score, critic count, user score, user count, developer and rating. Some of the name of attributes were repeated in the file, so we just use the same attributes. For the data dictionary and data description, first, game, type if string, the name of Xbox One and PS4 games. Second, year, numeric, the year of Xbox One and PS4 games release. Number 3, genre, string, the genres of video games like sports, racing, puzzle, action, and others. 4, publisher, string, the publisher of video games is the person who is responsible in the marketing and sales of the game. The top publishers are Activision, Ubisoft, EA Sports, and so on. 5, North America, numeric, the sale of Xbox One games and PS4 games in North America for 2016. 6, Europe, numeric, the sales of Xbox One games and PS4 games in Europe for 2016. Japan, numeric, the sales of Xbox One and PS4 games in Japan for 2016. For number 8, rest of world, numeric, the sales of Xbox One games and PS4 games in rest of world for 2016. Number 9, global, numeric, the sale of Xbox One, PS4 games in global for 2016. Name, string, the names of video game sales at 22 December 2016. Number 11, platform, string, the platform of the video games. The top game platforms are PC game, PlayStation, Nintendo, and so on. 12, year of release, numeric, the year of video games release. 13, NA sales, numeric, the total sales of video games in North America for 2016. EU sales, numeric, the total sales of video games in Europe for 2016. JP sales, numeric, the total sales of video games in Japan for 2016. For other sales, numeric, the total sale of video games in other countries for 2016. Global sales, numeric, the total sales of video games in global for 2016. Next, critic score, numeric, the positive critic score collected by the video games. Critic count, the number of critics collected by the video games. User score, numeric, the user score gained by the video games. User count, numeric, the number of users playing video games. Developer, string, the developer of video games is the person who is responsible in creating the video games. For the rating, string, the people's rating towards the video games. Stage and steps involved in data analysis. First, data collection. The data is retrieved from Kaggle website about video games sales dataset. This study used the data consists of 3 files which contains about 16,719 records with 35 columns of attributes of all video game sales including PS4 games and Xbox One games from year 2016. For the data cleansing, there are blank cells in our dataset. In order to make our dataset in well-ordered condition, we replace the attributes that contain blank cells with not available in Excel. First, we highlight the data, press Ctrl plus H to display the replace dialog box. We leave the find what field with blank and fill the replace with field by entering the words not available and then click replace all. This will automatically fill in the blank cells with the word not available. For the last step, data visualization. The data is then exported to Power BI in order to form the data visualization. By using Power BI, the data is processed and presented through graph and chart to catch the reader's eye. The colorful graph and chart is used to make the data more interesting, and most importantly is to gain readers' understanding. Derivative attribute. There are two derivatives. First is subgenre. The genre of video games has its subgenre. The subgenre is categorized under each genre to be more specified. The subgenre explains the genre of video games in more details. For genre action, the subgenre is platform, shooter, and fighting. For adventure, the subgenre are text adventure, graphic adventure, interactive movie. For the role-playing, there are action RPG role-playing game. For under subgenre, massive multiplayer online role-playing game and tactical role-playing game. For the simulation, construction and management simulation, life simulation, and vehicle simulation. For the strategy, war game, artillery, multiplayer online battle arena, sports, racing, team sports, sport-based fighting. For the puzzle, the subgenre is logic game and trivia game. For idle game, the subgenre is casual game, party game, and art game. The second derivative is type content. The rating categories are assigned to the age of the user. It also creates the list to list the type of content that contains in the video games. So, the ratings are designed towards the parents so they can make informed decisions about purchasing games for their children and can control their children when playing the video games. For the rating, it has 5 ratings. E is for everyone. Type of content is minimal cartoon, fantasy or mild violence, infrequent use of mild language. For T is teen. The type of content, violence, suggestive themes, crude humor, minimal blood, simulated gambling, infrequent use of strong language. For the M is mature, 17 plus above. Intense violence, blood and gore, sexual content, strong language. For the E, 10, which is everyone, 10 above. Type of content are more cartoon, fantasy or mild violence, mild language, minimal suggestive themes. And for the last, EC, early childhood. Type of content, no material that parents would find inappropriate. Next is data issues. There are blank cells in the three files of our dataset. In order to make our dataset in well-ordered condition and no errors, the attributes that contain blank cells are replaced with not available in Excel. There are about 49,775 blank cells of the three files, which are PS4 game sales, video game sales at 22nd December 2016, and Xbox One game sales. The attributes consist of game, year, genre, publisher, North America, Europe, Japan, rest of world, global, name, platform, year of release, NA sales, EU sales, JP sales, other sales, global sales, critic score, critic count, user score, user count, developer rate and rating. But some names of attributes were repeated, so we mention as the same attributes. For the year of release, the record is left blank if the game do not have the source. For critic score, critic count, user score, user count, the record is left blank if the record do not get the feedback from the gamers. For developer, the record is left blank if the record do not know who create the video games. There are many more reasons why the data is not available. Therefore, the data is highlighted. Press Ctrl plus H to display the replace dialog box. We leave the find what field blank and fill the replace with field by entering the words not available and then click replace all. This will automatically fill in the blank cells with the word not available.
Okay, our first chat is about video game sales based on country. We are using donut chart. The chart show the overall video game sales among the countries. The video game sales include PS4 and Xbox One games. We are observe a few countries that play the video games, which are Europe, Japan, North America, global, and others. The chart represented the video game sales for each country based on different scale. From the chart, we can see that the global has the highest video game sales, which is 30.01% compared to other countries. The video games in global, the video games hit as many people purchase the new latest video games. Everyone in global was easily influenced and has been following the trend. But behind of this chart, Japan has the lowest sales in PS4 games and no sales in Xbox One games compared to other countries. In conclusion, most people, which is user in global, like to purchase video games as it is a trend in the modern era. People nowadays are being advanced and like to play with technology, while Japanese people do not have interest in video games. This is because they use their time for study instead of play the games. For our second chat is about critic and user score based on genre. This stat show about the critic and user score based on genre of video games. Uh, in this chat, the genre of video games display as x-axis, which is independent variable. Okay. From what we can see in this chart, the green area represent of critic score, while the blue area display as represent as user score. In this chart, we use positive critic score, while user score is based on the score that the user gives to the games. Okay. From this chart, the action games get the highest positive critic score and user score, followed by sport games, shooter games, and others. Uh, People games get the lowest critic and user score. This chart, it is because most of the user don't like to play the puzzle games. The chart show the decreasing gradient from the action games to the puzzle games for two areas, which are critic score and user score. For conclusion, most of the user prefer to play and give a good feedback for the action games instead of puzzle game. Most of user, whether teenager or kids, boys or girls, like to play action games because action games are more interesting and fun. Uh, the user don't like to play the puzzle games because people do not like to play the games that are using their thinking like a puzzle games.
For the third graph and chart, the chart shows the critic count and user count of video games based on platform that people use to play. The light blue represent the critics count, while the black represent the user count of the platform that people use in playing video games. As we can see, PC is the most chosen platform because it has many number of users among other platforms, while PS is the least chosen because of the price is expensive and people cannot afford to have it at their home. So people, whether gamers or not gamers, prefer to use PC to play video games because it has high performance and people can have it with an affordable price. Besides, using PC is more challenging and more real. But in the chart, not so many people are giving positive critique when using PC to play video games, as sometimes PC can be lag while playing the video games. Because of good and high quality of platform, X360 get the highest positive critic count from the people who love to play video games. For chart, from the chart shown, we can see the most genre of game sell in Europe is action games. Global and North America have the highest sales in action games too, while Japan has highest sales in role-playing games. Overall, we can see Japan got the lowest sales in action, shooter, and racing game because of their less interest towards genres that need skills. So, we can say that almost people in the world like to play action games as it shows their physical skill. But Japanese people love to play video games such as role-playing games that need to use their ability in thinking and acting. That is the reason why Japan is good in technology and being a developed country because of their ability in thinking and on how they use their brain wisely while playing video games.
For the fifth chart, the chart shows the worldwide Xbox sales for genre of the countries. The highest orange line is labeled as gold, followed by purple line as North America, blue line as Europe, and the lowest yellow line is Japan. Shooter games by Xbox has the highest sales in globals. North America, Europe, and the rest of world also sell the most video games in shooter games by Xbox. This show more people like to play shooter games because it's more challenging and other games in Xbox game. The people like to use the weapon provided in the video games to kill enemy because it's more satisfied to kill enemy when you shoot with the which you shoot the enemy. Japan does not have sales in any genre of video games in Xbox. This happened because Japanese people do not seem interested in Xbox games and Xbox 110 is not favored by them. For the sixth chart, this chart shows the worldwide PS4 games sales based on publisher. As we know, publisher is responsible to make the video game, to marketing the video game and sales of video games. The highest sale of PS4 video games is by Activation for every country. Activation is the most chosen by all over the world because of its higher quality games. The company also has a good marketing in promoting the video games through PS4. It is a famous publisher that provides the best and creative gamings among others publishers. As we can see from the chart, Disney Interactive Studio known as not as famous publisher because of the games produced are not interesting and cannot attract the gamers. So the sale for Disney Interactive Studio is lower than Activation.
Data visualization is a graphical representation of data and information in easy way to understand. In this project, we have some limitation. Our first limitation is about since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, we do our project in our from our places. We do not have a time to meet to discuss since we are at our hometown. Our second limitation is we might be not know some terms in the data set, and the last limitation is we find it difficult to understand if only a set of data is displayed. So we have recommendation about the limitation. Our first recommendation for the first limitation is we were using a lot of platforms such as Telegram or WhatsApp to discuss about our project and complete the project. The recommendation for the second limitation is about is we need to search the terms that we do not understand. By searching the term, this term, it can help us to complete our project. So the recommendation for the last limitation is where we need to visualize the data set from complex data set to interesting chart, so we can be better understand and we know what are we going to do for this project.
For the conclusion, we have succeeded in achieving our objective. Stay in this study, For data cleansing, we change the blank cells to not able to make it the data well ordered. We also produced a few derivatives of new attribute to gain a better understanding of the reader. There are 6 types of chart with many kind of relationship that we generate from the dataset, and the pattern of the chart also had been analyzed. Therefore, it is clearly enough to explain that this data field have many possibilities to be applied from what we had learned in data structure and data visualization. And that's all. Thank you.